One could characterize the modern age as being guided in somewhat sense or deeply influenced by a deep sense that the question of truth is either insoluble or irrelevant. I mean, the truth does not show up very often, even in college curricula. We don't write textbooks to say what's true. We write textbooks on a perspective on a given topic or something like that. What happens if we lose interest in truth or lose confidence that there's a truth to be pursued?
Everything declines. First of all, academic institutions decline because they have no reason to exist. Other institutions of society will also decline because they will lose confidence in their own validity, in their own mission. It'll be anything goes. So I think that societies shouldn't be dogmatic and believe that all the truths are already known and there's nothing to pursue, nothing new to find out. Dogmatism is the enemy of truth. But societies should be willing to stand up for truth as best people can get hold of it, always open to argument and counter-argument, and societies should be dedicated to pursuing truth so that their institutions can be more just, serve better the interests of the human beings who constitute those societies. And certainly the academic institutions of any society have to be dedicated to truth. Otherwise, they're pointless, and we will have lost for our young people a very, very important value. You know, intellectual historians like to divide up the epochs as the age of this and the age of that. And so, for example, it's typical for intellectual historians to say that the Middle Ages were the age of faith, where everything was judged by its conformity to the truths of the Christian religion. The same people tell us that the Enlightenment was the age of reason. So now the standard of all judgment, the standard of good and bad, the standard of true and false, just and unjust, is the standard of rationality. Now those are both oversimplifications. The Middle Ages, think of the philosophers, the great philosophers, people like Thomas Aquinas and Maimonides on the Jewish side, very deeply dedicated to truth as well as to faith, because of course on the Christian understanding there's no tension or contrast or contradiction between faith and reason. Rather, they are united. And the Enlightenment, while it was in a certain sense rationalist, also had many deeply religious figures, even among the leading thinkers of the Enlightenment. But still, there's a certain truth in the idea that the Middle Ages were the age of faith and the Enlightenment was the age of reason. But to the extent that that's true, the Middle Ages, the age of faith, the Enlightenment, the age of reason, then I would say that our age is the age of feeling. We live in the age of feeling. So now everything is judged according to how it makes us feel. We judge something to be right or wrong, good or bad, just or unjust, not on the basis of faith or not on the basis of reason, but on the basis of feeling. And of course, feeling is very subjective. And so a certain subjectivity, which is self-eroding, which is self-defeating, which will actually undermine its own foundations, creeps in, not only to the thought of intellectuals, but to the general understanding of people. So it means that to win an argument, all someone has to say is, well, you're offending my feelings. Or I feel differently, and therefore what you say has no validity. My feelings trump any rational argument you can make. We're not going to do very well, and we're probably not going to last very long as we are the age of feeling. So I think that we need to restore those principles of faith and reason, which John Paul II, the great Pope, John Paul the Great, now a saint, called the two wings on which the human spirit ascends to contemplation of the truth, faith and reason. And that's such a beautiful metaphor, I think. Anybody who's seen a bird that has a wounded wing realizes that no matter how healthy the bird is otherwise, no matter how good the other wing is, that bird will flap its wing and try to get off the ground, but it'll just go in circles on the ground and never get off the ground because you need both. And I think that's what we need. There's the cure for what ails us. It's the restoration of faith and reason as the two wings on which the human spirit ascends to the contemplation of truth.